Welcome to On the Vineyard, a 10-minute weekly wrap-up of the news from the Vineyard Gazette Media Group on Martha's Vineyard. I'm publisher Monica Brady-Meyerov. We're so glad you're here. On the Vineyard is sponsored by Martha's Vineyard Bank. School is out on the vineyard and the island celebrated. Also, Camp Jabberwocky campers arrived to a raucous welcome. Last weekend, there were more than 20 events to celebrate Juneteenth. Every year, I can see the island becomes more and more of a destination to celebrate the Juneteenth Jubilee. The panel I moderated for the Gazette about Freedom at 250, From Revolution to Juneteenth, Who Was America For, had more than 150 people in attendance. Many stayed for the screening of the documentary Black Patriots, Heroes of the Revolution. And the weekend also had a lot of music. The Gazette-sponsored gospel brunch on Sunday at the Edgartown Yacht Club was soulful and delicious. Coming up, towns take action to protect the Martha's Vineyard Commission to help prevent the vineyard from becoming overdeveloped.
So the towns have asked our state legislators, we don't know the way the courts are going to rule on this. Maybe we should take a look at legislative efforts to enshrine what the Martha's Vineyard Commission has done for the last 50 years.
More on that story in a moment. It was the 51st anniversary of the movie Jaws last weekend, and many Jaws fans came for Amity Weekend at the Martha's Vineyard Museum, which hosted talks and book signings. And the Gazette ended Amity Weekend with a sunset cruise on the Black Dog's Alabama schooner for Jaws fans. So, of course, the fans sang when the sailboat tacked and returned to port.
2, 3. Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. I had a little drink about an hour ago.
That's the sound of the historic press in the Vineyard Gazette offices in Edgartown printing the paper. That means it's time to go upstairs to the newsroom and check in with Bill Evell, the editor-in-chief, and the reporters on this week's news.
Ethan Genter is here with a story about the Martha's Vineyard Commission, which is under attack from a suit that could change the very nature of its authority on the island, but towns are rallying to its defense. Ethan?
Hey, Bill. Yes, this last 2 weeks, 4 of the 6 island towns have written in support of the Martha's Vineyard Commission. They've written to our 2 state lawmakers up at the State House. They're asking them to really step up and help the MVC in this 40B situation that they find themselves in.
And now to take listeners back, so there was a suit against the Martha's Vineyard Commission that was instituted by developer William Cumming, and this got to the heart of the nature of the Martha's Vineyard Commission and its unique authority here on the island.
Yeah, what this boils down to is there's affordable housing projects in general that if they include a certain amount of affordable housing units, they can fall under what's known as a 40B state law. And what that does is it streamlines the permitting process and everything goes to the Zoning Board of Appeals in a town. And the question is, in the past here on the Vineyard, the Martha's Vineyard Commission has also been able to review these projects. We're the only place in the state that has this sort of setup. And he's cried foul and said, why do we have it that way? The Martha's Vineyard Commission shouldn't be allowed to do this.
Yeah, it's been set up as a regional authority, but he's saying it shouldn't be that way because no other towns in the Commonwealth have that.
Yeah, and people here on the Vineyard argue this was specifically set up to look at these sort of projects, these region-wide projects here on the island. It's different. This commission was set up to look at things that affect all of the towns. And so now it's a battle in court in different places, the Housing Appeals Committee, which a lot of people had never heard of on the Vineyard before this all happened. That committee has said that we do need to fall in line with everyone else in the state, and the Martha's Vineyard Commission shouldn't oversee these projects. The question now is what happens as we move forward. That's been appealed. There's other lawsuits pending that all ask the same question. I think there's 3 or 4 now that all basically get at this question. So the towns have asked our state legislators, we don't know the way the courts are going to rule on this. Maybe we should take a look at legislative efforts to enshrine what the Martha's Vineyard Commission has done for the last 50 years.
Yeah, interesting where they really stepped up and, got vocal about it.
Yeah, I talked to Julian Sear, our state senator, Thomas Munkley, our House representative. This isn't probably going to be easy to do if you try and put out a law that says the vineyard gets a special exemption. Everyone else will say, well, how come we don't get that? So it'll be difficult. They're looking at ways to enshrine this and clarify the Martha's Vineyard Commission's role. So it should be a roller coaster as this moves forward.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
Thank you, Bill.
Governor Healy was on the island on Wednesday, making several stops, one of which was at the Agricultural Hall, where she talked about tick initiatives with several island officials. Emma Kilbride was there with the governor and everyone else. So tell us, what was going on at the Ag Hall and what was the governor backing?
Sure. So the governor came to, as you said, talk to a lot of island officials who have different kinds and levels of investment in the tick problem on this island, from people who work for the Agricultural Society to public health officials to people from the nonprofit organization Tick Free MV. And what Tick Free MV is trying to do right now is reduce the size of the island's deer herd by 70% using state-backed deer damage permits. And Governor Healy expressed support for these permits when she came to the island, and she also pledged funding for a processing facility to help support this increased deer harvest, as well as several other initiatives.
Yeah, and we did a story earlier this year when she was in Falmouth, and really seems to be pushing hard for some sort of solution to the tick issue.
Yeah, the state is definitely very concerned about it and seems to be very consistently supportive of some of the things that people on this island are trying to do. Also discussed yesterday was that the House of Representatives just passed an environmental bond bill for our state that includes some loosened, or some say modernized, hunting regulations, including hunting on Sundays, universal use of crossbows, and reduced setbacks for hunters. And Governor Healy has been very outspoken in her support of those provisions. And so we're really seeing a continued and sustained support from the state.
Yeah, she seemed open to, funding mechanisms for a lot of things. That all of these things will cost a bunch of money.
Yes, these things will certainly cost a lot of money. So how the state will fund some of these initiatives has yet to be seen. But it is certainly interesting that the state seems all in on this.
All right. Thanks, Emma.
You can read more on these stories and all the news for free at vineyardgazette.com and follow the Gazette's Instagram for the latest. The Chappie Point-to-Point Foot Race is on Saturday. It's already sold out, so you can't run in it, but it would be fun to watch. And Sundays, there's now a new meal option. Beach Plum Inn is partnering with Swimming Pig Meats to serve up a classic barbecue dinner with all the trimmings. The Steamship Authority's new Woods Hole ticketing office opened this week. After years of watching this giant structure in the middle of the loading area go up, I was pretty impressed when I walked through the doors on opening day. And that's where I met Steamship General Manager Alex Kriska, who was in the lobby greeting riders.
It's turned out really well, and we have a few more punch list items to get through, but the flow is nice. People seem to enjoy it. The big window doors are great. They're going to add a lot of light to the space. The engineering, you can see there's no load-bearing pillars here in the middle of the hall, so it's a really big, wide-open space.
Boats are coming into the vineyard in Vineyard Haven, Oak Bluffs, and Edgartown now that the season is underway. Here's an old memory from Islander Deonis Riggs, interviewed in 1982, talking about the Edgartown harbor of her childhood.
Oh, we always went down to the boat. The steamboat came into Edgartown every night. It didn't stop at Vineyard Haven or Oak Bluffs, I think. The last boat didn't. And I was put to bed at a proper time, and my mother sang a lullaby to me. Every night, over in the meadow in the sand and the sun, lived an old mother toad and her little toady one, and so forth, all the way up to 12, and she'd sing that over and over until we saw the Aquinnah coming in, and then I was to go to bed, and that was perfectly normal. But on occasion, I was allowed to go with my sisters to see the boat come in. That was the evening entertainment. Sometimes friends came in, sometimes acquaintances, sometimes strangers. Oh yes, that was the thing to do.
Now, when you meet a ferry, it's usually filled with frustration as you fight the traffic to get there. Thank you to the Martha's Vineyard Museum and Lindsay Lee for this audio. Our theme music is from island composer and musician Michael Hayden. If you like the show, please follow us so you won't miss an episode, and tell a friend who loves the Vineyard, and also follow this podcast on Instagram. Thanks to our sponsor, Martha's Vineyard Bank, a community bank whose employees live and work locally. You can tell they take pride in their place in the community by looking at the flowers in the window boxes of their Woods Hole location. Providing personalized guidance and committed to understanding the needs of the community, learn more at mvbank.com. I'm Monica Brady-Myroff. Thanks for joining us on The Vineyard. Talk to you next week.